I got home early and heard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me. I'm 38 years old and just found out that my 36-year-old girlfriend, whom I've been with for 5 years, cheated on me, and in the worst possible way. I've never been married and don't have kids, not because I don't want to, but because life just hasn't brought me that opportunity yet. Last Friday, after work, I left for a weekend trip with my friends to one of my buddy's lake cabins. Nothing crazy, just fishing, games, and a few drinks. We take these trips every 3 months to have some time for ourselves and give our partners a break from us. Normally, I stay until the end of the weekend and go straight to work on Monday morning. However, this time, I forgot my laptop at the office and needed to pick it up. Around 4 p.m., I started heading home, expecting to arrive around 6 p.m. I figured Raquel, my girlfriend, hadn't had dinner yet, so I called our favorite Italian restaurant, placed an order, picked it up, and went home. When I walked in, everything seemed normal. I heard Raquel laughing in the kitchen and thought I'd surprise her. As I got closer, I started hearing the conversation she was having on the phone, and in an instant, my life fell apart. I thought she was talking to her brother or maybe a friend, but the conversation went something like this. "Last night was simply amazing. He was such an attentive lover. I've never had anything like it. We met on Tinder, and he took me out last night. When we got to the door, we barely made it to the couch. My God. Big, like twice the size of OP. I'm definitely going to want to do it again with him." After that last sentence, I dropped the food on the floor. Raquel heard the noise and turned around. At that moment, she already had tears in her eyes. She hung up the phone and tried to come closer to me, but I just pushed her away. I went to the office, grabbed my laptop, and left. Raquel has been hysterical, texting and calling non-stop for the past 4 days, but I haven't responded to a single one. I've been staying in a hotel in a neighboring city, so I doubt she'll be able to find me. My friends and my mom have called, saying Raquel is desperate to track me down, but I assured everyone that I'm fine and there's no reason to worry. My life was destroyed by a single phone call. I really thought she was the woman I would spend the rest of my life with. I'm an only child, and my mom always reminds me that she wants grandkids. I had planned to propose to Raquel this year on July 4th, which would have been our 6th anniversary. I already bought the ring, and my friend and his wife knew about the plan since they were the ones who introduced us and always host the July 4th parties. I appreciate any advice you can give me. This is the first time I've faced betrayal in a relationship, and I'm truly devastated. Should I contact Raquel in any way? After that phone call, just thinking about her makes me nauseous. In the comments, many people told me I would never forget what I heard and that it was time to move on. Some advised me to completely ignore her, not give her a chance to apologize, and not even let mutual friends pass messages from her. Others suggested making a public post explaining what happened and tagging her, so there would be no way back. One user shared his own experience of being cheated on after 27 years of marriage and 3 kids, saying he had the chance to leave in the first year of dating but tried to understand and fix things. He warned me not to make the same mistake. I want to thank everyone for the kind words. I've had a very stressful week, and although I haven't felt well enough to respond to all the comments, I read every single one of them, and your words helped me get through these days. It was a devastating event for me, and each person who commented or reached out in the chat made my day a little better. Last Friday, after my friends arrived at the hotel, I explained what I heard on the phone call. Everyone was shocked, to say the least. They asked if I had noticed any signs before, and to be honest, I really hadn't. I said I didn't know what to do and told one of my friends that the proposal was off, given the circumstances. He completely understood. One thing I asked my friends when we left home was to disable tracking in case their partners were checking. I know Raquel has a good relationship with one of the wives, but at that moment, I didn't want to take any risks. That night, we spent time at the hotel bar, and I ended up drinking way too much, taking shot after shot. My friends got constant calls from people asking where they were, and to their credit, they stood by me and just said we were safe and there was no need to worry. Someone asked to talk to me, assuming they knew where we were, but I didn't want to talk. They kept insisting that Raquel was worried and just wanted me to come home. I simply asked my friend to handle it and said I would explain more another time. I spent most of the night trying to flirt with the bartender, which I'm not proud of, and with some women who were in town for work. The next day, I thanked everyone for spending time with me, and they went back home. This week, I asked one of my friends to check on the house we were renting since it was on his way to work, and he usually arrived after both Raquel and I would have already left. Raquel had taken Monday and Tuesday off but returned to work on Wednesday. As soon as he informed me of that, I went to the house and started packing my things. The place was a mess, dishes in the sink, clothes scattered everywhere, and the trash overflowing with takeout containers. It took me about 3 hours to get all my stuff out, and before leaving, I cleaned the house as one final gesture for Raquel. That afternoon and evening, I was flooded with calls and messages from Raquel after she realized I had been home and taken all my belongings. For now, I'm staying at my mom's house until I find a place for myself this fall. I talked to the landlord, and without Raquel's signature, he can't take me off the lease, which means I'll have to cover my share until October. My mom said I can stay with her until I find a new place, and I'll try to have something by then. I know it may seem sad for a 38-year-old man to move back in with his mom, but this is what life has dealt me. Finally, I reached out to Raquel on Thursday and told her we could meet at a bar and restaurant downtown on Friday night. I let her know that one of my friends would be there to ensure everything went smoothly. On Friday, I was prepared for a final conversation with Raquel. I had spent days trying to process what had happened, the betrayal, the pain, the shock. However, I couldn't erase from my memory the words she used, the casual way she bragged about it on the phone. As much as I knew our relationship was over, I wanted to understand why it had all fallen apart like this. I didn't expect a genuine apology, but I needed some kind of closure. I arrived at the restaurant before our scheduled time. My friend was already at a discreet table in the corner, his expression showing understanding. He knew it would be tough, but he understood I needed to go through this to move on. I ordered a beer and waited. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from a mix of anxiety and contained indignation. I never imagined I'd go through something like this. Around 8, Raquel walked in. Her expression was full of nervousness and something else, perhaps regret, but there was also a flicker of anger, as if she were already ready for a battle. That bothered me. She approached the table slowly, and I could see that the calm facade she was trying to maintain was fragile. "Hi," she said, sitting down. "Thanks for coming." I just nodded, taking a sip of my drink. I didn't want to be the first to speak, so I waited for her to start. "I know you hate me now," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "and that you're hurt, and that this situation is horrible, but I needed to explain." I raised an eyebrow, still silent, encouraging her to continue. She took a deep breath, and her eyes started to shine with tears, but she looked more confused than remorseful. "I know I cheated on you, and I'm not trying to justify it. Well, maybe I am. But you need to understand that it wasn't something that just happened out of nowhere. I felt so alone these last few months, and I think that's partly your fault too." That last sentence made my stomach turn. I couldn't hold back a cynical laugh. "My fault?" I asked, more curious than anything else. "Raquel, you went on Tinder, met someone, and brought him to our home. How exactly is that my fault?" She nervously rubbed her hands together and tried to argue. "I'm not saying you forced me to do it, but you were never really present. You always cared more about work, your friends, those fishing trips. When was the last time we had a decent moment together? When was the last time you looked at me and told me you loved me, without it being out of obligation? I felt invisible, abandoned. This guy showed up at a time when I was at my most vulnerable." She paused, waiting for me to react. I watched her for a moment, trying to absorb what she was saying. The old excuse that cheating was a response to a lack of attention was already ringing in my ears. "So that's it?" I asked coldly. "Because I didn't give you enough attention, you thought the best solution was to go out with another guy?" Rachel seemed exasperated, as if I wasn't understanding her point. "You never understand," she said a little louder. "I loved you for 5 years. I stood by your side, waiting for you to notice, to really see what I needed. But it felt like you were just living your life, and I was just a detail. I'm not saying what I did was right, but I needed to feel like someone saw me. You stopped seeing me. Those words, "you stopped seeing me," echoed in my head. Part of me wanted to explode, to tell her that if she felt that way, she could have talked to me, asked for changes. But another part of me started questioning. Had I really failed that much in taking care of our relationship? Or was this just a pathetic attempt to justify the unjustifiable? "Rachel," I said, finally trying to control my tone, "if you were so unhappy, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell me you were feeling lonely? Why didn't you break up with me before cheating?" She was silent for a moment, tears finally falling down her face. It was hard to tell if she was crying out of regret or frustration that I wasn't buying her excuse. "I thought about it," she admitted, "many times. But I still loved you and thought things could get better, that you would change. But when the other guy came along, it was like he filled a hole you left. I know it's horrible to say, but I felt alive again." That last sentence hit me like a punch to the gut. She felt alive again? As if being with me was a slow death. I laughed, but this time, it was a bitter laugh, full of hurt. "You felt alive again by cheating on the person who was about to propose to you?" I asked, feeling the weight of the words. "Do you think that justifies what you did? That it erases the fact that you destroyed everything for something fleeting?" Rachel quickly wiped her eyes, looking even more irritated by my response. "I didn't know you were going to propose. How could I? You never gave me any hints. Everything felt so mechanical between us. I was already preparing to end things, but I didn't want to hurt you." I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of sadness and indignation. "So, cheating on me was the best way not to hurt me?" I asked. She shook her head, defeated. "No. I didn't think about the consequences. I was confused and needy, and I made the worst choice. But that doesn't mean you were perfect. I'm not the only one to blame for what happened between us." I slowly stood up, trying to contain the pain and anger bubbling inside me. I knew that continuing this conversation wouldn't lead anywhere. Rachel was trying to justify herself, to convince herself that I shared the blame for her betrayal. But deep down, I knew that nothing justified what she did. "Rachel, I'm not perfect, never was. But what you did, that's something I can't forgive. The responsibility for cheating is yours, and yours alone. And believe me, I did see you. Maybe more than you realize. I just didn't see what you truly were until now." Without waiting for another word, I turned and left the restaurant, feeling an enormous weight lifting off my shoulders. I knew that from that moment on, I had to move forward without her. She could justify her actions however she wanted, but for me, the chapter was closed. Months passed since that night at the restaurant, and although the healing process was long and painful, I moved on. The breakup with Rachel, the betrayal, and all the lies were finally buried. With each passing day, I distanced myself more from that phase of my life. There was no more anger or resentment, just a deep relief that I was no longer tied to someone who had disrespected me so much. Life moved on, as it always does. I moved into an apartment close to my work and gradually started rebuilding everything. The support of my mother and my friends was essential in keeping me from getting lost in that whirlwind of emotions. Over time, I began opening myself up to new opportunities, both professionally and personally. A few months later, I met the woman who would become my wife. Her name is Clara. We met in an unexpected way. She was a new colleague at a work conference, and our casual conversations soon turned into long exchanges about life, challenges, and dreams. Clara was different from anyone I had ever met. She was attentive, caring, and most importantly, she respected me in every way. With her, I learned that a relationship is about partnership, mutual respect, and understanding. We shared everything, with no secrets. The trust we built was solid, and it showed me that there was a much healthier and happier way to live as a couple. Meanwhile, I heard from mutual friends about what had happened to Rachel after our breakup. She actually got involved with the same man from Tinder, the one she had cheated on me with. From what I was told, Rachel and he were together for a few months, and to my surprise, she got pregnant by him. I found it ironic, considering how many times she and I had discussed having children. However, this pregnancy didn't bring the happiness she might have expected. As soon as Rachel told the guy she was pregnant, he abandoned her, disappeared from her life as if he had never existed, leaving her completely alone to deal with the consequences. It was a kind of ironic revenge, as if the choices she had made, from the betrayal to the shallow relationship with this other man, had come back to haunt her in a cruel way. I received this news with indifference. I felt neither pity for her nor any petty satisfaction. I had something far more valuable than revenge: peace. With Clara by my side, we built a life filled with love, respect, and companionship. We got married in a simple ceremony, surrounded by friends and family. Clara has always supported me, both in difficult times and moments of celebration. With her, I finally felt truly loved for who I am. Rachel, on the other hand, moved on in a completely different way. After the man left her and she had the baby, it seems her life took a much lonelier path. I never heard from her directly again. I blocked all social media, and from time to time, I heard some updates from mutual friends, but nothing beyond vague reports about how she was handling motherhood alone and trying to rebuild her life. The truth is, our lives took completely opposite directions. While I lived in peace, she reaped the consequences of the choices she had made. Today, Clara and I are happy, thinking about starting our own family. Life with her is everything I ever dreamed of. No secrets, no lies, just companionship and genuine love. Rachel is nothing more than a distant memory, someone who was part of a past that no longer holds any significance in my present. Sometimes, revenge doesn't need to be active. Life has a subtle way of balancing things out. In the end, the choices Rachel made brought their own consequences, and I found what I had always wanted: a fulfilling life and a relationship built on respect, love, and trust. Today, there are no regrets, only gratitude for having moved on. As for Rachel, we have no contact, and I feel no need to reconnect in any way. Our stories have split, and that's how they should remain. She made her choices, and I made mine, and those choices took their own revenge for me in a way I could never have planned. The irony of life is that it always finds a way to show what truly matters.